Well, good afternoon, everybody. Hope you're all doing fantastically well. It's Connor here. We are back with another episode on the One Leeds fan channel. Are you subscribed? Are you commenting? Ask yourself that question. And are you liking every single video? I hope you are. Reaches higher in the algorithm for us, everybody. We're sponsored on every single video. Our sponsors for this season, IPM Group UK, offer your security, surveillance needs. They're offered by a Leeds United branch as well. Link in the description below. These guys are absolutely fantastic. Rick and the gang as well. We've got a new football prize. The link will be in the description below as well for that. Everybody, you can get involved. Get yourself a ticket. Mad prizes, shirts, hospitality tickets. I'll put the link in the description below for you to be zoomed on over there. We have your press conference roundup. We have everything that you need in terms of news. www.oneleeds.com if you guys like reading on that stuff. We also have some bonus bits on the Patreon ATP coming today. Right, everybody, let's get into it, shall we? And also, guys, you can get involved. There's instructions for our latest competition in which you guys can win free merchandise. Link in the description below for that as well. All that news, all the admin out the way as well. So Leicester City could be hit with a points deduction of up to 7 points by the EFL if they are relegated from the Premier League. According to a new report in The Guardian, the English Football League are determined to see last season's championship winners charged in relation to alleged profitability and sustainability breaches during the 3-year accounting period ending June 30th, 2023. Earlier this month, Leicester escaped punishment from the Premier League after successfully arguing they were no longer in the league's jurisdiction. Per The Guardian's report, the EFL have received assurances that they have grounds to charge the Foxes for the financial breach of 24.4 million, despite the club not competing. It's interesting when it comes to Leicester because obviously they got away with it, which some people are a little bit unhappy about. Some people think that is fair. Obviously, they moved their accounting period a month on, I believe it was, which meant that they weren't in that jurisdiction, that period, that bracket. So Leicester did get away with the charges when it came to the Premier League, but of course they haven't avoided it when it's come to the Championship / obviously the governing body being the EFL points breach. And listen, there was a lot of talk about Leicester, how they've managed to get up, why they've not been dot points this season. Obviously, it's all about the bracket when they were in the 3-year period as well when it comes to the financial breach. So yeah, interesting to see what happens there with the EFL, but you do feel a little bit more confident that Leicester are going to feel the full punch of the EFL with them not being happy whatsoever about them breaking almost, there was an EFL statement saying that they were disappointed with the Premier League's verdict on Leicester City. So that's going to be interesting to see what happens really with regards to the Championship. And if Leeds United are still in there, which we're hoping we're not, we'll have to wait and see on that one. But Leeds fans as well, rightly unhappy. Once again, we've had another change in the EFL kickoff structure. Leeds United fans are right to be fuming of the EFL moved the kickoff time for the Championship clash against Blackburn Rovers. The Whites set to travel to Ewood Park on Saturday, the 30th of November, which will now start at 1:30 rather than 3 p.m. This has been done at the request and intervention of the Lancashire Police, giving Leeds no option to be upset. Now, this is once again another chaotic point of which there is no return here with the EFL and Leeds and scripting fixtures and all this sort of stuff. Now, the police, when it comes to these charges, on football supporters, that's been something that's backdated for 40, 50 years in terms of clubs moving times, to suit in line with the police. So that's nothing new. We always have issues when it comes to Sky TV because it's always the last minute, but with the police, you've got to give them a little bit more leeway. But I know people who are coming over from the States for that game, and that is going to muck up plans. And it's just such a frustration that this carries on with Leeds United. The fan base that we have, we travel to away games in thousands. Obviously, that's going to scupper a lot of, the local police when you go to these games, obviously with problems here, there and everywhere. But at the same time, it is massively frustrating when you're a club the size of Leeds United because Sky hit us hard, but also local police that we've seen in the past couple of years. I think Preston did it last year as well. Seems to be a Lancashire police in particular that with the heavy artillery that Leeds United brings to these away games, they're always going to be hampered when it comes to, the police. The local police are always going to be hampered when it comes to resources. Okay, Popey, what's he said today? Leeds United winger. We've not spoken about the press conference today, of course, when it comes to Daniel Farquhar. I wanted to give you guys a little bit of a snippet update. Leeds United winger Manor Solomon is the major injury doubt with a back problem ahead of Saturday's Championship fixture at Cardiff City. Patrick Bamford expected to be involved. That is a double-edged thing that I did not want to see today whatsoever. Two players of which one is out, which obviously we don't want to happen, and the other is returning. Look, we get back behind all of our players, of course. Bamford does offer depth from a striker perspective, but I wanted to get into the larger perspective of what this could mean going forward for Leeds United when we hear the news a little bit further on. But obviously, what did we know from Manor Solomon? Meniscus issues 3 times in the past 5 years, 8 months out as of, I think it was April. So we know he's had injury issues. Now he's got a back issue. Obviously, it's good news that it's not to do with his reoccurring injury there. That would be very, very problematic. It was another meniscus issue. Obviously, that's not reoccurred again. But Solomon, after the start he's made to the season, what's he made? 2 appearances so far, injured again. Out again. Now, once again, context applied. It is not a meniscus injury. It is not a similar injury. But Manor Solomon, the state is the state. Context is the context. He's out again, which, I mean, this guy's injury record over a 5-year period, I can't imagine how many dates, how many games he's missed now when you churn that up. So it's disappointing him being out again, because obviously he has to then get back to, if he's out for 1 or 2 games, which I don't know, it didn't seem like a minor issue. He was using the word major a lot in his press conference, was Daniel Farke, in terms of him being a major doubt for this game, of course. But I do wonder with a back injury. I have had back injuries. There are a lot of types of back injuries. You probably have when it comes to sport as well, guys. They're not a simple issue to fix. And I'm just hoping with Manor Solomon, this one is just a simple issue and he's going to be okay for the next game. But when it comes to Manor Solomon specifically, Daniel Farke, he was talking a lot in this press conference, but Daniel Farke has the luxury of having a direct replacement that we brought in for 11 million euros, of which many fans, maybe including myself, was questioning, could you put Largy in for Manor Solomon? Are the attributes going to fit? Daniel Farke was speaking in this press conference of the player side of things, and he's completely right. The player side of things, he might have not over-acclimatized. He was very, very nervous coming on in his first game, was Largy. Very, very nervous. Obviously, he's only played in this country for Manchester United at a youth level. So we have to put into context right now what it is on a human side for a player to come in and for him to acclimatise this Leeds United side immediately. And get on board with the fans, which is very, very difficult. There's criticism from everywhere, isn't there, when it comes to Leeds United? So, but there is acclaim and praise and positives to be put on you if you perform really well. And from what we saw when Tanaka came on and Ramazani came on against Hull City, there was a lot of positives in that very narrow period, of which we spoke about. We spoke about such positives in that Hull City game, which obviously gets forgotten by the fickle football fan who looks at us content creators and deems us negative and pessimistic, even though for 95% of this season so far, we have been heaping praise on Daniel Farke's Leeds United pre-season. Jesus Christ, I was the most positive fan on planet Earth. But we have to say the context applied to this Burnley game, it was a few of the same reoccurring things that we saw last season when it came to Leeds United breaking down a high-quality low block at this level. Listen, questions that as a fan base, we should be able to put to the manager. The journalists in this press conference didn't really touch on, for me, enough on the low block and how we break down that. They mentioned, do we need a double pivot? Daniel Farke said yes, unequivocally, yes, we need a double pivot. I completely disagree with him there. We don't need a double pivot. He was talking about the passing accuracy of the side. Yes, quite right, but the passing accuracy of the side has to be in the right spots. It has to be in, we have to be looking at, the direct phases of this Leeds United side. And are we in the offensive area of the pitch, playing these direct passes and getting these risky passes completed? Are we really doing the Pablo Hernandez side of the game and the Calvin Phillips side of the game as well, where you're breaking lines continuously and putting those really creative passes in? I'm not 100% sure we are doing that when it comes to Leeds United against those low blocks, context applied, and that feeds into last season. But for a lot of this period, we've been good. We've been very, very decent, but that Burnley game did throw up a few questions. And I think that's not an overreaction. That's not a meltdown, which you'll get certain people telling you that it is when you question the manager. It's a meltdown. It's a sort of gaslighty way of certain fans telling you that you can't criticise this, you can't criticise that. Of course you can. A manager, and I've always tried to be level with this, can be, if I'm going to level praise at him, I'm going to level criticism at him as well, 100%. And you should always do that, in my opinion, as well. To be, I mean, I've done it all the way back as Bielsa. Bielsa was my favorite manager ever. He was God to me for many years, but he had his flaws, didn't he? And you can do that with Daniel Farke. And the only reason I mention that with a bit of context is because there's been a lot of Bielsa and Farke chat this week, which I've not really understood, but there we go. Okay, so what else was Popey saying anyway? Let's have a quick look. if we're just looking specifically at the injury status. So defender Rodon has missed 2 training sessions due to a glute issue. And Junior Firpo has been struggling with a ligament issue, whilst Joe Rothwell has rolled his ankle. Max Verber back in training as well. But Daniel Farker expects the trio to be fit. Interesting. Once again, when it comes to the amount of players, and I guess this is what we're talking about when it comes to recruitment, which we can level at the 49ers. Of course we can. We have got depth on the bench, of course we have, but it's got to be that profile. It's got to be that profile of player. And when you're looking at those players, Joe Rodon, who's not had the best start to the season, missed 2 training sessions. I don't know how they can be fit, and is he going to be fit at the right level? Is he going to be match fit if he's missed 2 training sessions? Is he going to be able to play out the whole 90? I don't really know. Junior Firpo has been struggling with a ligament problem. This is probably the first time we've seen Firpo actually go back into that injured phase, because he's not been injured for such a strong period of time now, a long period of time. Rothwell rolled his ankle. I wonder if he expects them to be fit, but are they going to start? You can be fit and be on the bench. We know Max Verber's back in training, but is he match fit again? And the whole question comes back to this topic. Do we have enough when we have 3 or 4 injuries to then put these 3 or 4 players back onto the pitch? And and what I mean by that is, are we able to replace with quality? If those 4 players, those starters, are available, then Leeds United are in a much better phase, of course. But if they're not available, are Leeds able, when we look at this starting 11, to do bits? Now, if we're looking here right now, and that's what we've got to do. If we're looking here right now, for me, Rodon's out, and obviously came off in this game, didn't he? But if Rodon's out, you've got Ampadu can go a centre back, which we kind of don't want, but you've also got Verber. Verber brings you 2 left-sided players, but it looks like Rodon's going to be fit. But is he going to be fit in just a bench option? Who knows? Solomon's going to be out for this one. Largely would come straight in for me. You can keep Brendan Aronson in there. Of course, Firpo is the problem, and that's why you had to go out and buy a left back, which Leeds United didn't. And then you kind of look at the bench here. You've got Byram. You've got Isaac Schmidt, who's more of a right back. And that's kind of it when you look at defenders here. Obviously, Debayu. So you've got 3 defensive players really there on the bench. And then you look at the profiles. It is interesting. It is really interesting and how we're able to spread these. You've got a lot of attacking players, haven't you? But it's the defensive side of which you're kind of looking at with Leeds United. So, yeah, it's fascinating to see. Leeds have got a few out there. Rothwell rolling his ankle as well, so that's an option. Maybe dwindling a little bit. I thought you might see Ampadu being out for this one. But he also spoke about, Cardiff and them being a very, very good side. He also struggled to mention sort of that, he mentioned a substitute off the bench, and then I was expecting him to name sort of 2 or 3 other players that are going to come on and give Cardiff that depth off the bench. He's basically just saying that Cardiff have a good side and they'll be in the top 10. I don't really know how you can make that judgment when you've lost 4 out of the last 5 and been hammered by Burnley as well in that process. Although, the XG was very low in that game for Burnley, but they were just clinical. I just think, it is one of those where we've got to take it game by game. And at this moment in time, Leeds have had a 6.5 out of 10 starts the season for me. But Cardiff have had a 0 out of 10 start to the season, and the manager is under massive pressure. I think if he loses to Leeds, he's probably going to get the goodbye wave. So context applied, we should be winning this game. We've got a value squad, even with injuries, that we can rotate, and I'm not having any excuses. And I get what Farker's doing. He's giving flowers to the opposition, but that's not an excuse in the back pocket for me. This one is a must-win for Leeds United, a must-win game, and no excuses. I don't care if Cardiff's harder for us. I don't care if they sell an extra 5,000 more tickets, which they're going to do against Leeds United, because they're another one of the LHBs. You guys can figure out what that means. But I'm expecting Leeds to win this one, everybody. I'm going to go for a comfortable 3-1 win. And I have to be saying, maybe that's arrogant, maybe that's ignorant, but I expect a team with this quality to be doing that. And look, they have a low block. I can imagine they are going to do that. The onus might be on them to come out a little bit more against Leeds United, but it's going to be a low block for me. I expect Leeds to break that down. And there's a lot of people have been telling me this week, Connor, he's got it in his locker to break down the low block. So this shouldn't be as high a quality at all as Burnley's low block, in my opinion, even with the players that Burnley had out. Obviously, the likes of Bayer and others. I expect Leeds to be winning this game quite comfortably. So let me know what you think in the comment section below. Everybody, to Farkas' comments, to the news that we've had this today as well, when it's come to this, that, and the other. Also, there's been a bit of stadium update as well. Apparently, Leeds United are looking to replicate some of the Etihad facilities as well in and around the ground, which comes to the build-up, the sort of the almost like the kids area, which is in and around the Etihad. Leeds want to replicate that. 53,000 is obviously what they're looking at building up to when we get to the Premier League. But look, we can get into that conversation when we get nearer to the Premier League. But apparently they're looking very similar in terms of blueprint to what there is in and around the Etihad. Obviously the former stadium for the Commonwealth Games. That'll be interesting to see how those plans develop as from what Angus Kinnear said as well, in terms of Leeds getting on with that when they get to the Premier League as quickly as possible. Guys, let me know what you think in the comment section below. If you want some bonus podcast bits, we're going to be heading on over now to the Patreon. We've got some bits on the website as well. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. I'll see you in a bit. Cheers.